Friends, we have to get back to the words of God. We have to get back and realize like our identity is not in our relationships with humanity, because humanity will always fail us. We have to realize that we have to get back to the words of God, because sometimes in our relationship with our children become our first love. Our spouses become our first love. Our jobs become our first love. Our possessions become our first love. Our successes become our first love. And what happens is, when anything other than God, when anything starts to supersede God, you know what we call that? We call it sin. And so sometimes, because we buy into the cheap knockoff of love, we start sinning against God and justifying. Listen to some of these verses of these passages that we have to get back to. 1 Peter 2:9. But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possessions, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. When we start to get back to the point of understanding this agape type love, that while we were sinners, while we were enemies of God, while we were at our deepest and darkest and the most hate-filled enemies of God, he stepped down out of heaven. And this is my favorite Valentine. If God was to give us a Valentine, I think it would have a little choo-choo train on the front, and you would open it up, and he says, I choose you. Right? It's my favorite Valentine. When he did that, it was God saying to us, I choose you. I want you. I so love you. 2 Peter 1:3 says, according as his divine power has given us all things unto life and to godliness, to the knowledge of him that has called us into the glory of his virtue. Romans 8:14. For all who are led by the Spirit are sons of God. Friends, what we have to do is fight back to the enemy of this world. To wake up every day and say, God, I want you to first overwhelm me with your love so I can be a conduit of that love to other people. Again, so many times we wonder why we're hurt and abused by other people. Is because other people haven't experienced the salvation. We can't adequately dispense agape type love, a love that's directed to the will, this committed type love, until we first experience it. We can't give it until we receive it. So we walk around in broken relationships, broken friendships, and broken marriages. Why? Because we ourselves first have to step back and ask God, will you come in and change me and transform me? Let me experience that type of love. I remember for me being 12 years old and praying to God. My mom and dad had been fighting for years. And I remember, God, if you are the only one that can make a miracle out of this. You're the only one that can restore the love where there is no love. You can mend that relationship. God, I know you can do it. I'll never forget the time I got off the bus and they sat us down and they said, hey, this just isn't going to work. We're getting a divorce. And so for me, my parents' relationship was my salvation. I didn't know at 12 years old what it meant to be a fully devoted follower of Jesus Christ. All I knew was I prayed to God and he let my mom and dad get a divorce. So age 13, 14, 15, and 16, I called it dark ages. Because I hated everyone. I would much rather punch somebody than try to have a relationship with them. If hurt people, I was going to hurt every single person that I can come into contact with. Because I was hurting. And I remember when my stepdad came in, and at one point he said something to me, tried to correct me or rebuke me, and I looked at him and I said, who do you think you are? You ain't my daddy. Shut up and walk away. Well, again, if you've met my stepdad, he's like 6'2", 6'3", like well over 300 pounds. I thought he was going to break my arm when he grabbed my chicken wing and bent in and he said, let's go for a talk. And I was so mad. I was so angry. He said, Ben, if you let me love you, I'm going to show you what true love is. Now, up to this point, remember, my focus of love was anytime you get close to somebody, they hurt you. So I said, whatever. I remember I had to go to a church camp. I didn't want to go to church camp and spend a whole week with perfect people because I wasn't a perfect person. I didn't want to tell about how much God loved me because God let my parents get divorced. So I went there with a whole bag of tricks. I was going to raise hell the entire week. And I was sat down and it was shaving cream, it was razors, it was feathers. I mean, it was going to be awesome. I was going to get kicked out, right? And I remember sitting there, and the guy got up and he said, my parents divorced when I was 12 years old. I was like, my parents divorced when I was 12 years old. He starts to tell the story, and I was like, wait, that's my story. Stepdad came in one day. He said, it was stepdad. You can't tell me what to do. I'm like, it was creepy. And he said, but then I experienced this agape type of. And it didn't come from my mom, it didn't come from my dad, it didn't come from any person. So I remember kneeling beside my bed and just crying and saying, God, if this is true, that you'll stick closer to a brother, that you want the best for me, that you're going to come and restore all the hurts that I have inside. That's what I want. Well, the more he talked, the more angry I got. And as people responded, I wanted to stand up and say, you weak-minded people, he's manipulating you. Why? Because I was hurt. I wanted it to be true, but I wanted to run in the other direction because it was easier to run than it was to face the fact that maybe there was a God, maybe there was a healing that could come to me. Not only that, but then I thought I'm going to have to tell him all the chaos I was going to raise, and then I spent my hard money on the whipped cream and the flowers and the shaving cream and everything. So I remember I went to bed that night and I couldn't sleep. And it just kept running through my mind. It's Ruth and Boaz, right? That God is working for my good. And I started to have different flashes in my mind where I would want to hurt myself or hurt somebody else. I couldn't go that last step because there was something that was just holding me back. And I remember I had to go and talk to somebody, but now it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. So I got up and his name was Eddie. I'll never forget Eddie Spencer. And I walked down there and Eddie was in the little kitchen area. He said, I've been waiting for you. What? He said, I've been praying for you. And God said tonight's going to be your night. Remember, I knelt down and I started crying. And again, it wasn't fireworks. It was just that peace which passes all understanding. When we got done, and by the time I got done praying, all these leaders were up. And I said, hey, you're right. It's Ben's night. Now, at that point, has my life been perfect? Has every decision I ever made been successful and now we're living in a mansion just over the hill tonight? Well, I know, but because of the obedience of God, I went from marred, from bitter, to a person that's changed and transformed. And friends, when you experience this agape type love at the deepest level, all you want to do is walk to every single person that you come into contact with and you see their hurt and the brokenness on their face. Tell them what a relationship with Christ can really do for you. We're going to close with a song. And again, it's great that we're closing with a song. It's called How Deep the Father's Love for Us. So vast beyond measure. This is what I challenge you to do. You say, you know what, I haven't been to the point where I've never asked Jesus to come into my heart and to change me. I've never experienced this agape type love. And today I want to do that. I want you to come forward. I'd love to pray with you. Maybe today's your day. Or you say, you know what, I've prayed at one point, but it's been so long ago that I think that bitterness has creeped back in because of the craziness of this world, and I've been a fully devoted follower of Jesus Christ, and today is my day when I recommit my life to Christ. So you stand with me. Everybody stand all over the place. Let me pray real quick. Father God, I just pray that your Spirit will move right now. That you open up hearts and minds. If there's anyone here today that doesn't understand what this agape type love is, that your Spirit will speak to them today, give them the strength and the courage to come forward and accept that.